so hard. This is so hard. Yet the feeling of accomplishment, that elation after I finally beat the first scenario, was fantastic. It pushes you hard, which makes winning feel even better. The idea of another Ice Age is not that far from the realms of reality, and the story and world built into this game is scarily believable. The extreme cold and relentless snow creates a somber atmosphere that breeds not only despair in your citizens, but yourself as you build. You continually feel like every force in the world is out to stop you from surviving. Anyway, before I go on, if you're interested in how the game runs at 21x9, then check out my technical breakdown of the game, linked in the description, or just head over to my channel page at the WAF website and it'll be there. So Frostpunk's premise is this. The world falls into another ice age. The weather just drops to extreme cold, never letting up, and it focuses on those in London, England. It's, as the name suggests, a steampunk setting at the end of the 1800s. Those in London set out across the icy world to find these generators they had previously built away from the city, and I believe in the North Pole due to their high coal reserves, as a way to survive the cold. The groups that have set out previously have unknown fates as to whether they ever reach their generators, but you and your group do finally make it to one. However, you know that many people have been lost along the way, and they're out there in the wilderness in need of rescue. So you must try and build the last city on Earth and keep your citizens fed and warm to outlast the ridiculously huge storm, whilst trying to save other survivors. Wow though, trying to do this is stressful. I really felt an urgency with this, a real threat of everything is on the line and these lives are really at risk. And this isn't helped by the fact that it takes ages for things to happen at the beginning. You'll first build out homes for your people and your first research facilities whilst your citizens go and collect iron, wood and coal from deposits scattered around the crater. However, you've got to balance workers collecting resources with those engineers in the research facilities and those tending to the wounded. You also need to take care to quickly move to having hunters and cooks to provide food for your people. And whilst all this early basic stuff is happening, you're struggling to balance what buildings to build whilst trading off those resources used to research new stuff. This is because just as things seem okay, you'll suddenly run out of iron, wood and coal and need to swap to sawmills, coal thumpers and iron drilling, and these are expensive jumps. If you can make this first step, then you're doing nicely. However, at this point in the game, the fluctuating weather patterns will hit in for the first time and you'll be forced to endure that first bout of extreme cold. Citizens will start to get ill, which not only lowers productivity in collecting resources, but means you have to have citizens looking after those who are ill, a double negative. You'll then need to build a lookout tower and create a scouting party to go and search for other people to come join your city and find other resources to aid survival. And it's not easy. It's without question the hardest, most challenging city builder I've ever played. And essentially this is the premise of how the rest of the game goes. It just goes deeper into varying technologies and requires balancing acts across the board as you grow your population and temperatures get lower and lower. What's interesting though, and I'll talk about this without spoiling anything, so don't worry, but the game actually has a very interesting story, and it does have an end. There is something you can work towards. It's not an endless open-ended mission. To reach that though, you have to go through some seriously difficult hurdles, and there are branching options for how you want to proceed with the story, each one providing a significantly different type of challenge, which makes replayability very high. Also, it's not just about reaching the end, but about how you get there. If you win, you basically have these people who went through all of this Ice Age survival left with you, and now they're going to look back and question how you got them through it all. Were you a good leader, or was the price of survival too high for them? Anyway, when playing this, as you can imagine, there are a lot of tips and tricks to help you along that you'll be able to find from each other. But as with anything, I kind of always like to tell people to play something first for a few hours, see how you do alone, then see what others have to say about making life easier and helping you get further. I especially promote this for Frostpunk because, for those unaware, it's not a randomized, procedurally generated world each time you play. It's actually identical, which means technically you could copy someone else identically and get extremely similar results. The variables only really lie in those that might get ill or injured in the workplace. But if you played already or just don't care and still want to hear my thoughts on what I've learned in my time so far, I'll do a brief beginner's guide now. So when starting, the first things you'll naturally go for are coal to power up your generator and the scraps of steel and wood. You should avoid though going for the coal yet. Leave it a few hours till night, as you don't need much coal to get through the first night. The temperatures will be fine to work through during the day, and it'll allow you to acquire more wood and steel slightly faster. You also want to build roads as directly to resources as possible, but try and focus on 2, maybe 3 lanes, as you'll struggle to heat any more than that. And also, whenever building roads in the future, don't worry about creating nice designs. Instead, build things in circles. Buildings that have effects like heating or productivity boosts all work in circular patterns, so you want to cluster things to make the most of this design. Also, research facilities are a lot warmer naturally than other buildings, like houses, so you can use them to heat other buildings close by. I like to spread them between houses at the start. Now, it seems that the most effective route for that first progression search tree is to hit steam hubs, then lumber mills, steel mills, and coal thumpers, followed by the beacon and finally collection rate increases. I really like steam hubs as they allow you to heat a group of buildings during work hours, but can be turned off at night to save coal consumption. And I only went for heaters right at the end of the game because you need them to survive the final stages. However, they're just not as efficient, and efficiency is vital in this at the start. The beacon is one of the most important buildings to get, so you can get scouting parties out to grab more people and resources to boost your economy. And people are the most important resource you have, and with no ability to create anyone new, you can only get more from searching locations outside the crater. Outside the crater, you can also find automatons that can be helpful for keeping your resource acquisition going, so yes, keep searching. Also, you will need steam cores for advanced buildings, which you'll only be able to find in outside locations. Hint, there is a special city, develop it. I do want to point out though, I found automatons overhyped. They actually had very little effect on my first win, and I would easily recommend making sure you have 4 infirmaries first, use your steam cores on them before spending them on the machines. Now, the game has the option to pass a whole range of laws, from child labour to overtime hours and burying the dead. You can use this to help yourself get through hard times, but it seems to be less is more. The less laws required, the better you're doing, and the happier your citizens will be. One thing I didn't realise right away is when passing, for example, the 24-hour overtime law, it actually doesn't apply to anything until you manually select buildings to force them to work overtime. Of course, there are caveats to this, but yeah, check buildings for specific options. Later in the game, you'll get access to religious laws, and these are total game changers for making life much easier. They were the only way I could quell the bloody Londoners. A little point that applies notably to medical care is that people work in shifts, so whilst it may appear you only need one person to work a tent, you'll soon realise that productivity for that place is at 0 because they've gone to eat or rest, so you could really do with a lot of staff to ensure round-the-clock care. The best advice though is prevention is better than curing. Keep everyone super hot and they won't get ill. It's really worth the coal expenditure to heat people up than to lose tons of people in the cold. Lastly, my final note is it's very important to micromanage every single citizen to ensure they're always doing something. It should also be accounted for that it takes time to move people between one place and another before they start working. So if you keep moving people all over the place, you're going to lose productivity as they'll just be walking around. Also, on this point, whilst working places might be warm, people get ill purely from walking between heated locations. So make sure a citizen's entire journey is warm for them. And of course, don't forget, as things get more busy, use your time control ability. Pause it whenever you feel overwhelmed or need to take stock of things. You can do a lot of things whilst time is paused. Also, it's just best to usually leave all building to be done at night. If you have a lot of buildings queued, citizens will complete them before they go to sleep, which means they don't need to stop working during the day. Also, you can rotate buildings with the middle mouse button click if you like, which helps with fitting in things when space gets really tight. Now, with all the chat I said about the game being identical every time you play, what makes it not identical every time you play is the fact that you have so many options. You have so many choices to make that you can change the entire route to success every time. Just because you did things one way one time doesn't mean you have to do them every single time to win. So if you find yourself not really suiting your desired results, maybe you got too religious or too ruthless, switch it. Try building different equipment or choose different story routes and see how you fare. And once you've beaten the first scenario of simply surviving as a city, try moving to the next scenario where you have to protect seedlings, and it's pretty much all automation work. These 3 scenario types are a fantastic way to change up the game and keep you coming back for more. All in all, this is one hell of a fantastic game. Don't expect it to be the most relaxing thing you've played this year. You're going to be kept on your feet. But it has a way, like really any city builder, to get into your brain and swirl around during the day whilst you do other things. You find yourself wondering what things would be like if you changed this tactic or built in this formation, or if you focus better at healing the wounded, etc, etc. One tip I'd give is don't fall into the very easy trap of restarting all the time whenever something feels like it's just gone badly. This game is the king of making things feel like they're going badly all the time. You will have people die, you will have hope fall heavily at times and discontent rise dramatically, and it will always get colder. So don't give up. Stick through it until you either win or get chucked out of the city for failing to win. Either way, it's always better than giving up mid-game and restarting, as you'll get bored of the same routine at the start of each game. It seriously gets interesting in the later stages. This totally gets a recommendation from me. Anyway, I hope that gives you a better idea of what this game has to offer at 21.9. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe for future info. For other games at 21.9, head over to my channel or the WAF website. Hopefully I've covered it. If I haven't, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and cover it. And if you'd like to support the channel, the links to my Patreon page in the description, and Amazon affiliate links are there too. See ya later.